Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares, and welcome to another Ranking the Franchise. Now, today I'm going to be taking a look at the Amityville franchise. Now, this is something I've been wanting to do for such a long time. This is going to include all 10 movies that were part of this franchise, not the one offs and the Wild Eye Amityville Island and Amityville Death House and Terror of Amityville and, Amityville everything. This is just going to cover the movies in the actual franchise. So let's get right down to it. Actually, don't hate any movie in this franchise, and please just remember this is my opinion. Would love to hear what you think. Coming up last, my least favorite is Amityville 1992. It's About Time. This movie, while I like it, it's really a big time mess. A lot of plots don't go anywhere. The characters are not really likable all that much, but it does have really neat effects. So while I like this one the least out of all of them. And that is Amityville 1992. It's About Time. The cursed object, of course, is a clock. Coming up next, Amityville Dollhouse. Now, I did enjoy this one. This, of course, is a cursed dollhouse. It was also quite messy, and some of the characters I didn't particularly get into, but for the most part, I did enjoy this one. That's why it comes in second to last. And that's Amityville Dollhouse. All right, coming up next, and I want to say a big thank you to BroncoJuggalo Talks Movies for lending me this tape in order to complete my ranking the franchise. It is the Amityville Curse. Now, as I had stated, I don't know if any of you guys had watched my About Last Nightmares with Nick, but we did the entire franchise. We watched them all and rated them. And this one actually got the lowest rating on IMDb, which really surprised me because I actually really enjoyed this one. This one and the next one could have easily switched places, but I'm pretty happy with where I put them. This, of course, is still a cursed film. This was a different house, and of course, this was a cursed booth that you do your confessionals in, which ended up in the basement of this house. Fun movie, definitely underrated. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Brad. I really appreciate it. Coming up next, and this may surprise some people, Amityville 3D. Now, I've always liked this movie. I always have a ton of fun with it, but it's a bit dated, to be honest. And for the most part, not enough stuff happens to really keep me invested completely. But like I said, I do like this film. I like all of these films. I think they're all underrated films in my opinion. Yep, and that's Amityville 3D. Still haven't watched it in 3D, but at least you have that option with this Blu-ray from Scream Factory, if I ever do get a 3D television. Coming up next, the big surprise, Amityville, A New Generation. This also gets a really low rating on IMDb, but I absolutely loved it. This, of course, is also a cursed object, and I don't know. I like the characters in it. This had a really incredible cast for my part in this, and I just dug the story. To me, it was a fresh take on what a lot of people call a tired franchise. Not me, but a lot of people do call it that. Yeah, that's Amityville, A New Generation. This is hated by a lot of people. I don't get it. I loved it. I thought it was great. Coming up next is an all-time favorite of mine, Amityville 4, The Evil Escapes. Now, this is a TV movie, so it's kind of light. Okay, this is going to be a contradiction of terms. It is a TV movie. It's a little light on the gore, but it's really, really mean-spirited. And Nick and I absolutely love this one. I've seen this one probably, I don't know, 10 or 20 times, and it always holds up for me. The clothes and the hairstyles, that come and go, but this is just a fantastic movie in my opinion. I thought they did a great job with it. Coming up next, and this is probably going to make some people mad, is Amityville Awakening. Now, I know that this generally is hated by pretty much everybody, and I know it took 5 years to make, but I really like it. Nick really liked it too. It's just a fantastic haunted house story. And it's very meta, which I also really appreciated. And I'm sure that that can go either way when you're talking about, haunted house or ghost stories. Some people like meta stuff, some people don't. Me, I can take it or leave it, but in this film, I really thought it worked. The actors are great, and it is really creepy. And it's actually really hard to find now. So, Amityville Awakening. Coming up next, the remake of the Amityville Horror. Of course, this has an awesome cast. This has Ryan Reynolds, Susan George. It just has so many famous people in it, and it was done really well. Now, between this and the original, they pretty much got the entire book right. But it took 2 movies to do that. The acting's great in this one, but it just, the ending really bothers me. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it's not really that big, and it doesn't really do much to deter the story, but it just irritates me. It was like they were going for one last jump scare, and it just didn't work for me. But yeah, that's the Amityville remake. Fun movie, though. Coming up next is the original Amityville Horror. This scared me pretty bad when I was a kid, mostly because I saw bits and pieces of it as I was walking in and out of a room, and it absolutely terrified me. I'm going to be honest. It really got to me. Of course, it doesn't hold up quite as well, but the one thing I like about it, and people say it has a pacing problem, and that may be true, but it seems a little more realistic to me that things wouldn't keep constantly happening. They build up the tension, and then they let you think everything's okay. They build up the tension, and then they make you think everything's okay. So to me, it really works. But yeah, definitely a classic. Almost made my top 20 for 2020 in 70s films. Really, really close. Actually, my daughter gave me a hard time for not putting this one on there. So, yeah, Amityville Horror. Which leaves my absolute favorite out of the entire series, Amityville 2: The Possession. This, to me, is the most underrated Amityville movie that there is, and a lot of people do like this one. But this movie is mean-spirited, it's nasty, it's... If scenes in this movie don't make you feel uncomfortable, there's something very, very wrong with you. So, I just love this movie. It plays like an Italian haunted house film, because that's basically what it is. I thought Burt Young did a fantastic job. He is an actor I've always loved, but I despised him in this movie because of the way he treated his family. And that's the mark of a good actor, in my opinion. This movie is awesome. This has always been my favorite, and while I was refreshing myself with the entire series, I think there was like 1 or 2 that I hadn't seen. I know the Amityville Curse, I don't believe I'd seen before. Some of it looked familiar. And I think A New Generation I hadn't seen, if I remember correctly. But in refreshing myself and watching these films, I really enjoyed myself, but none of them came close to what this movie offered, in my opinion. This movie did it right. It actually told the DeFeo murders, even though they were renamed, and it just, to me, it was great. And that's it, guys. That is my favorite Amityville movie. I hope you enjoyed my ranking. I had a ball doing this with my buddy Nick. Thank you so much, Nick, for taking part in this with me. I look forward to a lot more about Last Nightmare to come. And if you like what you see and hear, hit that like button and subscribe. And until next time, peace.